Hey everybody and welcome. So here I want to make a short video talking about something that I find still hilarious even still nowadays. Even though a lot of my videos mention about how good they are, everybody still just completely ignores the fact that just because it's this, it's still bad. Period. But here's the funny fact. If you knew it was that, would you actually still think it's bad? No, you wouldn't. It's just the fact that just because it's from there, it's bad. Period. No matter what people say. Just because it's the fact that it's from there, periodly, it's bad. It's that thing that you believe from other people that just because it's people say from there, period, no matter what, it's bad, period. And what am I talking about? Walmart bikes. For instance, just like my Hyper E-Ride. Like my video a few videos long ago, I was mentioning that some guy came to me and was really interested in my Hyper E-Ride. But until I said that it was from Walmart, he was like really digging it. He was like, man, where do I get this freaking bike? Man, how much does it cost? Man, that freaking looks amazing. But until I mentioned that, he was into it. But after that, his mind just went south. Literally. No joke. He was so digging it, so into it, until I mentioned it's from Walmart, and his mind just went and threw the idea out the window. Because it's from Walmart. But here's a fun fact. If you took a Walmart bike and actually gave it upgraded parts that was maybe for a mid-range to, I don't know, wasn't from all the crappy components it has, like, you took the frame and you literally gave it mid-range to somewhat high-range components onto it, and you rode it, would it really be a cheap-end bike that's crappy? No, it wouldn't. Because what makes the bike great isn't the components. It's actually the bike itself. It's the frame. Literally, if you literally took a Walmart bike, you can go make a video, I don't know, whatever. There's another person I saw make a video that they did a Walmart bike riding on a high-end trail that normally big high-end bikes ride. And guess what happened with that bike that he did? It survived. Sure, the components weren't great, and they were getting loose and whatnot. Yeah. But that's because those components aren't meant to take such a huge amount of abuse. They're very basic and standard. But if you gave the bike a complete overhaul with mid-range components, except for the frame, guess what would happen? It would literally turn into a better bike than any high-end brand bike ever. Why? Is because now that it's got actual components that will actually take the abuse and last and actually perform, you have a frame that's actually going to take the abuse. And that's what the main part of the bike is. It's the frame. If that frame survives and can handle that, would you actually still think it's a Walmart bike? If somebody literally came over to a mountain trail or something and looked at your bike, would you actually think it's a Walmart bike after all the upgrades? No. You would actually think it's the freaking amazing bike in the world. You would actually be like, if you rode it, you'd be like amazed that, man, this is a great freaking bike, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff. You would literally have your mind completely blown up by how epic the bike is and how it's performed. It's only one fact that makes people scared, that they don't want to ride it. Because of the rumor of one thing. It's from Walmart. It's from a department store bike. If they didn't tell you that, you would literally be bonkers, going like, wow, that's freaking amazing. This is all so cool. Just like the video that I talked about on the guy that was crazy about my bike, until I mentioned that it was from Walmart. He was literally digging it. Everything. You would be the exact same. You would literally be like, wow, man, this bike is so freaking amazing. You got this and that. Ooh, man, ooh. And it's been performing great. You've been going down double Diamondback and triple Diamondback, blah, 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 blah. Oh, man, it's been handling crazily great. Until the people tell you one fact, that it's a Walmart department store frame. Then they'd be like, oh. Okay. Okay, you'd be cool with that. Why was I getting excited? This guy's riding a freaking crap bike. No joke. No joke. No freaking joke. You would literally be all into it until you knew that one fact. Then you would literally be trying a butthole and like walking away. But if you never knew the fact, you would literally, no joke, I'm literally being honest, you would literally be mind-boggling going nuts if you saw a department store bike with an overhaul of actual good part components. You would literally be like, that's a freaking cool bike. Because the frame is what makes it matter and actually surviving the entire thing. Sure, the low-end parts are not great, but that goes for any bike. I mean, literally, if you took a high-end bike and you put crappy components on it, would it actually be a good bike? No, it wouldn't. Why? It's because the components. The components, yes, I have to agree. Everybody agrees. The components are bad. But is the actual bike bad itself? No. Swipe a few good parts on it and boom. Exactly what this job has done. And what has it turned out to be? What? What's that? If you actually did not know it was from a department store, what would you be saying again? Oh man, that bike is freaking amazing. It's freaking awesome. Wow. It's got this, it's got dual motors, it's got this, all that great stuff. Wow. And it's taking the abuse. You would literally go bonkers. It's just that one fact. Because it's from a department store, it completely sucks in everybody's minds. Just because of that one key word. It's from Walmart. It's from Target. It's from Kmart. It's from whatever. It's not a good bike. Because of that one fact. That's the one thing that make everybody completely go bonkers. Because that one fact. That's it. That's the entire thing of what makes people completely fear of not wanting to go with those bikes, is because they're from department stores. And because they don't have the logic of actually, doing the upgrades of themselves. They just want to jump into this and think they can jump into that. But no, they can't. It's still funny that people jump into mountain biking or jump into this and they try to be like the pros and end up going head facing first into the ground. It's like you got a $4,000 bike but you still break it. Why don't you take some logic first, use the small one, upgrade it, and actually, go with that? If it breaks, guess what? You can swipe out with a better part. You can start cheap, and you can go big. It's the components that really matter, that make the bike the difference. So, of course, the cheap-end bikes are not going to have the greatest components. But if you had a high-end bike with cheap components, is the high-end bike going to be better than a cheap-end bike? Please, comment down below and tell me, is a high-end bike going to be superiorly better with cheap components than a cheap bike with its already cheap components? No, it's not. So, if the frame from a cheap bike is actually as good as the frame as a high-end bike, then what's the problem? We don't have this issue anymore with using high carbon steel metal versus Omni steel, which is harder and lighter and able to take more abuse. We're using the same compounds now. Aluminum and aluminum. We're using the exact same gauge of aluminum. We're using 6000 series, 7000 series, 7000 series. We're not using different metal compounds anymore that made the bikes completely different. So a cheap bike can actually be as great as a high-end bike. Change the components, boom. Everyone will think that it is a great bike. Literally, no freaking joke. Literally, you bought a department store bike and you upgrade it to have better component parts, no one would think it's a Walmart bike because it performs great. Because the components are the ones that are making the bike look good or looking bad. The frame, on the other hand, is the one that actually can last. If you have a good frame, it can beat those bikes. Just because they're small, they're heavy, doesn't mean that they're weaker and crappier than those bikes. So, if you want to challenge me, go make a cheap-end bike with mid-range or high-range components. Change it up, do it like that, and you'll see a huge difference. I'm not kidding. It will perform as it's supposed to be, because now you actually have parts that will actually take the abuse compared to the components that come stock with it. That's the reason why they're cheap. It's not because of the frame, it's because of the components on it. That's the biggest reason they cheap out, is because the components are low end. That's the point of why department stores have the bikes super cheap. They're easy to get into. They're not meant to just throw into a downhill 50 miles per hour hill and be like, oh yeah, that's gonna last. That's not the point. No. Sure, that's not gonna happen. But if you swipe out the parts with ones like a high-end bike has, what happens then? I know what you can say. It's gonna be a beast. Exactly like this nut job has done to his Hyper E-Ride. I mean, literally, if I haven't told anybody that my Hyper E-Ride was from Walmart, or even looked up the name online, you guys would literally be like, that's a freaking amazing bike. And he's got some great freaking parts on it. No joke. You guys would literally be like going bonkers, like, man. And there's been people on my videos been like, dude, where do I buy that? How do I get that? Because it's actually a good bike. When you actually swipe out the components that are not great and put real great ones, it turns into a monster. Just like I've done with my Hybrid ride. And now that it is that monster, it's freaking amazing. So do you still think it's a crappy bike? Just because it's from Walmart? Well, yeah. You guys still think that because it's that key word right there. It's from a department store bike. Nothing else. It's because of that name. It's from Walmart. It's from a department store piece. That's what makes the bike crappy in general. Nothing else about the bike is bad. It's that name that really puts the fear in people. It's that department store name that makes everybody go, mm-mm. It's just the name. That's what puts people fear. Because of what was gone before. That might have been true. But nowadays, it's not. Because we use the same alloy now as the high-end bikes do. Maybe we don't have the fancy blown-up frame design where they build the frames bigger and thin out the metal to make them lighter and all cool jazz. Maybe we don't have that stuff to make them lighter and all that jazz. But the frame still holds up way more better than they used to. Literally, if you took a high carbon steel bike from before then and took a aluminum bike nowadays, difference-wise, the frame is completely a different monster now for a cheap-end bike. You're getting very high-quality aluminum metal nowadays than you were getting for high carbon steel back in the days. So the bikes are not as crappy as they used to be. Just like the same thing that a lot of people comment saying that, oh well, we're going disc brakes, we're going threadless, we're going cassettes. I mean, you guys don't have a problem with that. No joke. You guys literally are fans of disc brakes, threadless systems, and cassettes. And those are new. Those are new tools. Those are new tools. And you guys literally took off and like, oh yeah, they're freaking amazing. But they're new. They're not reliable. They're not very known. But yet you took off and you were like, well, yeah, these are freaking amazing. And you jumped on the bandwagon. Are they reliable? Well, yeah. Right? Somewhat. There's still a few kinks. But you know what? That's a process of going new technology. Instead of the reliable old dudes of V-brakes and quill stems. I will have to admit freewheels are a little funky, but they are a little more easier to deal with than cassettes, because all you have to do is just they are easier. So anyways, if you literally changed your cheap-end bike, you literally see that it's not so bad as you think, just because of that name. No joke. Anyways, see you guys later. Peace out.